Excellent. Okay, here we go, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of April 17th. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. Welcome. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, the first item of business is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to pull DD1.
D1. I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is the submission of minutes. We have the special town council meeting minutes from March 6, 2024, and the town council meeting minutes from March 27.
Motion to approve previous minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the public hearings. We have Fabio Lopes, G. Lopes Restaurant, Inc., doing business as Sunset Cafe, 499 Hope Street. This is a request for Class BV liquor license.
Is representation here? Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. And this is a public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Outstanding. So I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Look at that. How are you, sir?
Very good. How you guys doing?
Could you state
Good,
your
good.
name and address for the record?
My
please?
name is Fabio Lopes. The address is 499 Hope Street, and I represent Bristol Sunset Cafe.
Thank you. So you are here to speak in favor?
Yes.
Proceed.
I hope you guys approve the license. I thank you. It's been a long process, and I thank your patience, and I think it would be great for us to get the full liquor license, and that's pretty much it.
So just a question for clarity, Major. Are any issues that we should be aware of? We were not aware of any, so just confirming that. Outstanding. Okay. Any questions from the council?
No, we wish you luck. I mean, you have a great establishment. I think a lot of us probably go there. So wish you the best. And as you grow, you're growing. You pointed out the things that it has been expanded the last year or so. And I think they're all good changes and waiting for you to open at night, I guess.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yep. And we'll open at night soon.
Certainly, 22 years speaks for itself. And obviously, as we just asked the Major if there were any issues, obviously not. And as Councilor Perella pointed out, we certainly enjoyed visiting and eating there. We certainly provide an awful and very nice menu. So
Oh, come on. Thank you so much.
Good luck, Fabio. Did I hear also that you're now open on Mondays?
It's a big deal. Yep.
Mhm.
The town was pumped. The around town page, people were excited.
that's awesome.
Well, good
So-
luck. I look forward to coming in and having a drink.
Thank you so much.
So
Appreciate it.
Still public hearing. So you want to share anything else?
No.
Excellent. Thank you.
No, thank you guys. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You have a
Thank
couple
you.
agenda items coming up in a moment. Okay.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You
Appreciate
too
it.
as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good luck.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is ordinance 2024-8, Chapter 8, Boats, Docks, and Waterways. And this is for the insurance requirement for town marina. This is second reading. There's also a memo from Harbor Master Marsili in regards to the commercial fisherman insurance survey.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Discussion? Greg?
I heard back from one more fisherman this afternoon. he has insurance on one of his bigger boats and doesn't have it on one of his other ones. So that brings the total up to 13 responses, I believe, to my memo.
Yes, you had 11 replies is what you shared with the council.
So 12 then.
So we have 12 now,
That's
which would make it 3 people do not have insurance and 9 do. I
Right.
guess we can take it that way.
That's correct.
Outstanding. Okay.
Thank you for the survey.
You're welcome.
And
Is
I
there
like,
any,
I just like how this ordinance points out 180 days from the date of passage. It will go in effect for the commercial, which will bring us to October. So it's a nice amount of time for us to work with the commercial fishermen to get whoever is not on the insurance policy on the insurance policy.
Yes, sir.
any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, I'm opposed. I'm sorry. I think we're closing this. discussion.
Oh.
We're actually doing the vote. Yeah, I'm not going to vote for it just because I'm still a little concerned. I mean, I'm glad you did the people that replied. I'm very grateful that they did. I just want to make sure that we're not doing anything that will inadvertently hurt the fishing community. So,
So that was a 4-1 vote.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is C2. This is ordinance 2024-9, Chapter 17, to offenses and miscellaneous provisions, Article 2, alcoholic beverage establishments. And this is to decrease the number of B limited licenses from 8 to 7 and increase the number of BV licenses from 31 to 32. This is second reading.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is C3. This is ordinance number 2024-10 to Chapter 17, offenses, miscellaneous provisions, and alcoholic beverage establishments. And this is for the number of licenses, to decrease the number of B limited licenses from 7 to 6, and to increase the number of BV licenses from 32 to 33. First reading.
Motion to, yep, go ahead, Tony.
No, go ahead.
Motion to approve first reading.
Second?
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve first reading. Any discussion? So I'll take just a moment. What you've heard numbers go up and down here. The process for the town of Bristol is that we do not have any unused licenses. So when a license is given back to the town, if you will, then we, in essence, cancel it. What you've heard is we had an applicant a little bit earlier, a part of the public hearing that is looking to change their limited BV license to a full license. So you've heard the numbers go up and down. And the idea behind that is that there is no unused license. If there is an unused license, it can be used out there. So we make sure that there's only as many as requested, which allows the dialogue that you're hearing right now, make sure that there's no issues and no reasons why we, well, there's no issues. I can keep it that simple. So to go back to, we were on C3, we had a motion and a second that this approves first reading. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D1. This is Fabio Lopes, G. Lopes Restaurant, Inc., doing business as Sunset Cafe, 499 Hope Street. This is the request for the BV liquor license.
I make a motion that we approve it?
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to approve. Discussion? So as you just heard, we now just created a license that can be, we got rid of the limited BV and we created a full BV, and this council is going to take a vote to approve that. Is there, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Outstanding. Fabio, congratulations and good luck to you and your family.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D2. This is Joseph Zanfrilli from Jozon Enterprise, Inc., doing business as Domino's Pizza, 655 Metacom Avenue. This is a request for modification of the vitrine license for change of location.
Based on the recommendations, I make a motion that we approve it?
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is D3. This is Erin Mayer from Crate Escape Doggy Day Camp, 64 Balloon Boulevard. This is a request for a dog kennel license.
The applicant is here. Hi.
Hi,
Could you state your name and address for the record?
Erin Meyer, and it will be 64 Blue Boulevard, Bristol, Rhode Island.
Thank you. So what's in front of us is a request for a dog kennel license. And we have a recommendation to approve, correct?
You're moving, you're in Gooding, aren't you?
We're on Gooding Avenue right now, and we're gonna move over to Blue Boulevard, but we'll have both locations for a while.
Yeah, that's great.
You're going to have two locations, you said?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to approve. Any discussion? You want a 20-second commercial?
No, thank you.
That's a great response. Good for you. You got 10 points on that one. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Good night, thank you.
You too.
I'm going to put that on record as the first time someone said no. Thank you.
There's a waiting list of dogs that want to go.
Not
Mr.
even-
Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is E1. This is the dog kennel license renewals for 2024, 2025.
I make a motion, we approve it with the exception, there's a recommendation from the police department that we visit a dog's life in 6 months. Am I correct in it?
Yeah.
Did you want to, and can you share on why?
So on August 25th of 23, a dog's life had 16 dogs on property. Their license allows 10.
So your recommendation to this council is to review this
You were 6 months.
in 6 months? Okay. So there was a motion from
Yeah,
Tony to
right.
approve with that, following that recommendation?
Correct.
Second.
And there's a second by Tim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F1. This is Paula Pre, 19 Anawamsket Drive. This is a request for council consideration of creating an ordinance to limit the use of surveillance cameras and consideration for ordinance enforcing violations to trespassing on town property extending on boundary lines of private property.
Is the applicant here? Please. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul Lapry, 19 Anawamsket Drive,
Welcome.
Bristol, Rhode Island.
Welcome. So tell us what you are asking this council for, please.
I'm asking the council to pass an ordinance that will support all private property owners who have town property that abuts their private property, to prevent anyone else from making altercations on the town property that is within the domain of any resident's private property. And that the police should, after the police have talked to the people that have made altercations on these properties. But, all right, I should say, let's just say somebody is going on town property within another resident's private property, and they're making altercations. And the police have been notified, and the police have talked to whoever it is, making the altercations. And then after that, it continues. What I'm asking is that it should be treated like a trespass violation. What any town residents that has that complaint or made those complaints.
Could you give this council an example of what you mean by a change, that something that it sounds like you're
Yeah.
suggesting that there's a change on that town property?
Yeah, if someone who repeatedly goes over to the town property of a private residence property that abuts the town property that's within the residence's private property domain, right? They go over and continue to, with a blower, seeds, planting, digging with a shovel, weed whacker, lawnmower, anything like that. And they've been notified or asked not to do it, but they continue to do it. After the police have spoken with them already and asked them not to do it, and they continue to do it.
But
I'm
there are-
asking that if there isn't an ordinance that the police should be able to, you should make an ordinance so the police can enforce it.
But aren't they on town property though?
So, yeah, town property, yes. But it's property that's in front of any private residence property that the private residence maintains on a regular basis. But someone else whose property, someone else who is not connected with that property, like their property, it could be anybody, somebody from China, it could be the next door neighbor. They come over to the town property and make altercations on that town property that is within any town, any private, any residence town property.
So,
So
go ahead, Mary.
I think it's just a little,
And then Tim.
it's a little harder to understand. Like I live in downtown Bristol, and as you see, you've got the grass,
Yeah,
the town property, then you got the town sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then you got your property. So there are people on that town property tons of times all
Right.
day long where I live,
Right. Yep.
And if, excuse me, if the first X number of feet, 3, 4, 5 feet belong to the town
right,
in the, what I would call like the developments, you live on Anawamsket, so it's
Yep.
just like straight, all the grass,
Mhm.
You don't always have that, those separate areas like we have down here. I mean, I'm not sure if we could stop somebody from going on like what's technically classified as public property.
No, I'm not saying stopping anybody from going on that property. It's preventing from someone else from making altercations on that property, like say the grass. Like most private residents, they maintain the town property in front of their own property. So they plant the grass, they pull the weeds, right? Then someone else comes along, and if they do altercations and the private resident asks whoever's making the altercations not to do it, and they continue to do it, then you talk to the police and you tell them, I asked this guy or girl not to do this in front of my property, but they continue to do it after the police have asked them not to do it, not to make altercations, but they continue to do it. And I'm asking you to make it an ordinance that no one besides the person or the residents whose properties boundaries encompass the town's property only has the right to maintain that property. And that's it. Nobody else has the right to go over there and dig holes or cut their flowers down, or that's what I'm asking, that the police will treat it like it's a private property.
Paul, I appreciate your stepping up and talking to us about this. Mike, I was just wondering if you could weigh in from a legal standpoint on this. It seems that it would be very cumbersome to handle on the
Yeah,
town level, but
So there'd be no need for an ordinance. I mean, just like a private person has a right not to have anyone trespass on their property, town obviously has a right not to allow trespass on its property. However, the situation you're describing, this is not just in Bristol, it's every city and town, and
Yep.
as Mary has alluded to,
Yep.
there's a certain area beyond the street which is owned by the town. This is very
Right.
much akin to people who have oceanfront property,
Right.
and people are able to fish and go back and forth on that strip of public land.
Right.
So you said, I'm going to assume, Mr. LaPre, you're talking about a neighbor. I'm just assuming that. You're saying someone's coming and they're mowing the lawn, which is town property, in front of your property.
Within the private property officials
Yeah.
boundary line, yes.
So have you had your property surveyed at all?
Yep, officially
All
surveyed.
right, so you have survey sticks in the ground, stakes?
Right, this request is based on the evidence that the boundary is there. This
Okay,
can
well,
be seen.
good. So then you have a civil trespass, if it's your neighbor, whoever it is.
Already?
You would have a civil trespass action against anyone who came up on your property. Now, with regard to the town property, that's different. It's open to the public. But you could bring a civil trespass case if someone is trying to mow the lawn or weed whack or do whatever on your private property. Are we talking about the same thing?
You stated my private property. I'm
Right.
talking about town property
So
that is within the official boundaries of my private property that I maintain. I maintain.
So, Mr. Solicitor, if I may, and Paul, if I may, just
Yep.
so we're all on the same page on
Yep.
this, just so we're all understanding.
Yep.
If you have 100-foot wide property.
Yep.
You're talking about the 100 feet in front of your property. It's approximately 5 feet of town right of way. Side note, it
Right.
is different everywhere. Some
Right.
is it deeper, some is less, but
Yep.
we'll use 5 as an example,
Yep.
okay? So if your property is 100 feet wide, your proposal is that 100 feet? And so 5 feet by 100 feet, you want us to write an ordinance not allowing anybody to make any changes to that, except the property owner? Is that what you're
If
saying?
the property owner of the said town property objects, yes.
Okay.
But wouldn't
Mr.
that
Sol-
negate public property?
So no, I want, Mr.
Yeah.
Solicitor, I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Please make your point.
I totally understand. You know, that would be an impossible ordinance for the town to enforce because obviously every single property owner has property in front of its property or
Yeah.
their property, which is town
And
owned
this is
property.
for all those people,
Right.
all of us.
No, but
Every one of us.
Mr. LaPre,
Yep.
please allow the solicitor to finish his
Okay,
response to
I'm
you.
sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay.
As a practical matter.
Yep.
Trying to adopt an ordinance that would do what you're requesting would be next to impossible to enforce because, I mean, everyone from the mail carrier to people walking their dogs to, you know, just think of all the various instances where people could be on the property. Now, I will tell you the town has in place a licensing process where there are some individuals who want to maintain a town lot that is a parcel property next to them, and they want to garden there or do whatever, and we go through a licensing process. But what you're talking about is something that would affect every homeowner in the entire town of Bristol.
We protect, yes.
They have, every homeowner and every person, whether they're a Bristol resident or not, has the right to make use of the public right of way.
Right.
Again, the best example I can think of is walking the dog. They can do that.
Right.
And it's perfectly legal.
Right.
So I think the best thing for you to do is if you have stakes, if you have survey stakes, and the person that you're complaining about is going beyond those stakes off of the town property and into your private property, you clearly have a trespass action. Now, the town of Bristol, if someone is, you know, digging up town property, let's say they're going in front of either your property or anyone's property with a backhoe or with a shovel or whatever, and they're damaging the town property, the town doesn't need an ordinance. It can bring a trespass action. There's no need for an ordinance. The town has trespass rights the same way that individuals have trespass rights. So if someone is damaging town property and you bring that to the attention of the zoning enforcement officer, from there, the zoning enforcement officer would determine, hey, are they really damaging town property? They would then bring that to my office, the solicitor's office, in conjunction with them for bringing some kind of an action if in fact town property is being destroyed. I'm not sure from what you're describing that I hear town property is being destroyed. You're saying it's being altered. I read your petition. I see that you talk about lawn mowing. I see you're talking about weed whackers and leaf blowers and that type of stuff. None of that would rise to the level of destruction of town property such that we, the town, would have a trespass action against that person.
Yeah, besides, it's not really destruction, it's just altercating or making it look different than it should, that.
I understand, but I couldn't recommend to the council to adopt an ordinance under those types of circumstances. You also had another section of your,
So I can go in front of your house and just start weed whacking right along.
as long as you're,
Okay.
if you're not on my property
Right,
and
okay.
you're on town property,
I can put my barrel on in front of your property.
Mike, can I just ask a question to interject here? I mean, what is allowable? Because there are people that would say, I'm beautifying the town property. There are some properties in the downtown area where people have planted a lot of grasses and ornamental things on the town side of the sidewalk. You know what I mean? And
It
it
happens every
interferes,
day,
and it
everywhere.
interferes with that sidewalk in some cases. So
well, if there's interference with the sidewalk and a handicap, it interferes with a 3-foot handicap right away, then the town should do something about that.
but can a
for sure.
person just like decide I'm gonna plant flowers all over the town's grass part of it?
And so Mary.
Not the resident, but somebody else.
Technically, anyone who did that would be trespassing on town property. The real question becomes, is it a menace to the public health and safety? Is it interfering in some way with the town's use of the property? Is it interfering with the right of the public to pass on that property? Let's say it, everyone wants their property to look nice, right down up to the town property. Everyone's driveway goes right through that right of way. Sidewalks, same thing. And some people choose to do that. Towns get involved with those situations when people do things that obstruct, such as they have a retaining wall and the wall goes beyond their property and onto the town right of way. Those are the type of things that a town would get involved with. But if someone's putting some daffodils out there or whatever, unless, again, it's an obstruction or something that's causing public health and safety hazard, there'd be no need. There'd have to be a real reason to bring a trespass action for a
Right.
reason like that.
Could I interject here and say?
Just a moment, please.
Yeah.
Mary, were you done with your?
Yes, I am.
Please continue.
Or say somebody planted the daffodils and somebody didn't like the daffodils, somebody down the road, they come with the weed whacker and whack them down.
Yeah, someone's art and someone else's,
Okay,
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
It's
Yeah.
just, obviously something's going on between you and your neighbor. I wish you could.
I'm not mentioning any names, I'm
I don't
sticking
want
up
you
for
to,
every
I don't
resident.
want you to mention a name. It would just be nice if you could somehow work that out
Yeah, it would
with,
be.
with your neighbor, because you're coming to this council, and this happens a lot with ordinances. You're coming to the council with a specific issue that you have in your neighborhood. And the only way the town could react is to do something that applied townwide. And it doesn't make sense to use a hammer to kill an ant when it's just one small little thing. I've had the privilege of sitting here since 1995. This is the first time I'm hearing something like that. So it's obviously not a big problem throughout the town, and ordinances are meant to address
Sure,
problems for the citizenry of the town of Bristol that have risen to the point that there's a real problem out there, and we as the elected, we have to do something.
sure.
This, in my mind, doesn't meet that standard.
Can I just say that, how about all the people that were afraid to confront somebody who's doing that? Oh, I wonder how many people there are like that.
Certainly there, you are right. I'm sure there are such people out
They
there.
don't, they want to get bothered because they don't want to call the police. They might, because they're afraid somebody might do something to them.
Mr.
About that?
LaPrey, Mr. LaPrey,
Yeah.
you had two pieces on your proposal. Could you
Yep.
share the second one?
Yeah, the other one is limitations on security cameras on neighbors' houses. I mean, I understand that you can have a security camera on your property, but when it's going beyond your private property and it goes on your neighbor's property and it follows you everywhere you go, I think there should be a limitation on that. I mean, it's private property. Isn't that a trespass? If I have my private property, I don't want a camera following me everywhere I go. Isn't that a trespass? I mean, I feel like it is.
Unfortunately, I feel like it's a reoccurring theme here, Mike. Could you respond to that one too, please?
When you're standing in the street or on a sidewalk, you can see into people's properties. You see the yard, you see the driveway, you see the house. So what the law of the land, both federal and state, is that you can do whatever you want in terms of visual, taking pictures or using surveillance cameras, as long as what you're seeing is something that you would normally see from a public position. So no, they can't adopt an ordinance. It would be prohibited from a council or a state, for that matter, to adopt an ordinance that says the security camera can only focus on your own property. Because the reality is that every time you drive by the street, you're looking into someone's property. There is an exception to that. It's called video voyeurism. And that's when someone's camera is directed into someone's bedroom or someone's bathroom. That's when it becomes an invasion of privacy. But there is no privacy invasion for someone to have a security camera. There are these doorbell cameras, these Ring cameras. Every one of them captures way more than just the private property. So the simple act of installing such a camera is not illegal. The town has no ability to prevent that from happening. But if someone's privacy interest is being invaded, as I suggested, that becomes a police matter. But just because someone has a camera that happens to see into your yard, it's no different than me walking down the sidewalk and seeing into your yard. Do you understand that?
Yeah, there is a big difference because one, it's a mechanism, it's a machine that man-made, and the other thing is a human being. Okay, there's two people that are equal, they have constitutional rights. Cameras don't have that, and land don't have constitutional rights either. So that's it.
So here's what the law says. As long as your neighbor is only recording activity that happens in public places like the yard or the driveway, there is no violation of the law.
But that's not a private, it's private property. How come people get trespasses then if they go on private property?
No, you can't walk on the private property.
Well,
You can't walk on the private property, but you can, from standing on public property, anything you can see on private property, again, other than someone's bedroom or bathroom or whatever.
But nobody's constitutional rights are being violated if the owner of the property doesn't know it. They're not gonna, their constitutional rights not violated.
There is no such law to that effect.
No, there isn't. But yeah, there is, really. I think there is.
So,
Because somebody's violated that they're being followed all around on their private property. That is a violation of me. I feel like it is.
If they
Mike.
step onto your
And when they
private
don't like
property,
you,
that is a
Okay,
trespass.
gentlemen, thank you. Mr. Solicitor, if you could give some guidance in regards to,
So
I can hear your certain, what you're suggesting this council to go, but if you could help us with that.
I will, and to your benefit this way. I've read your petition. I did a little research on it. I looked at it. I understand the position you're in. But for all the reasons that I've articulated this evening, my suggestion is the motion be made to deny the two petitions that were brought to you for ordinance changes by Mr. LaPrey.
So move.
Second.
We had a motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to follow the recommendation of the solicitor. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. LaPree, thank you for sharing and petitioning.
yeah, can I say one last thing?
As long as it's very brief, because we've made that,
So now you've decided that it's okay for somebody just to do what they want to offend somebody else, basically. Right? Within residence, private property domain, whether it's town property or private property. So if somebody, a bully can just go over there do what they want, even though the person, that residents don't want any of it. So that's what you decided.
I appreciate your interpretation.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F2. This is Rob McNeil Design Collaborative, doing business as the Northeast Golf Company, 96 Broad Common Road. This is a request to add a Class C liquor license.
Mr. McNeil, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before you start, this council has not had, in all of my time, and I'm not sure of any time before that, and Madam Clerk and Mr. Solicitor, if you could kind of express, we have a petition, obviously, Mr. McNeil in front of us looking for a Class C license. Could we put that definition out to the public and to this council, more importantly?
Yeah, and Madam Clerk here is putting it in front of me, so.
See what I mean?
The Class C is for the sale and consumption on the premises where no food is cooked, but where prepared food is allowed. So your B vitrilling license, the food is prepared on the premises and served with the alcohol. In this case, for a C, the food's brought in from somewhere else. It's not prepared on the premises.
Thank you. Mr. McNeil.
So we are petitioning this Class C license because it certainly fits our needs and our operational protocol at the Bristol Golf Park. We are not a kitchen. We do not have a clubhouse. We have a we have a mobile structure that services our clientele at the golf course. We were given a BV license, which we have in hand right now, but it's essentially not valuable to us because we don't have a kitchen. We cannot create and cook food at our current location. So in our research, the C class license is exactly what we do at Bristol Golf Park. It fits exactly what we're doing. We've already made some agreements in place if we move forward with local delis and local caterers to assist our efforts with our clientele on a daily basis. And we're serving canned beer, canned seltzer. That's it. It's essentially what we're doing, what we would like to do. So the BV license doesn't apply to what we're doing at this moment. And there's no way on this property and we're not going to invest in a structure. We have a short-term 3-year agreement with the town. But on the flip side of it, this is a major revenue piece of our our pro forma. So it's a very important discussion to begin here with the council, and we're happy to talk more about it.
So, Mr. McNeil, I'm going to telegraph where I'm going. So first, this council wants you to be successful. The golf course is something that we want to see succeed.
Yes.
I know that you want to see
Yes, we
it
do.
succeed. So bear with me as I go down this less positive road.
Sure.
You were in front of this council. You asked us and committed to a limited BV license to follow the rules and the regulations of that limited BV license. From my conversations with the clerk, as the clerk, Madam Clerk is supposed to do, followed up on the limited BV license and said that we did not receive the sign off from the health department on it. That then precipitated her to call the health department. And Madam Clerk, please correct me if I get this incorrect. So call the health department to find out what was going on. The health department, from conversations, I'm sorry, let me back up, that you and the clerk had, you had said that the health department did not need to sign off on what was being proposed to them. When the clerk called the health department, they were unaware that there was a limited BV license being requested from the town.
That's why they said they did not need to approve anything.
Right.
So once that was clarified,
Right.
there's a process. I
So
understand that.
I'm going to go right back to the beginning of my statement. I want you to succeed. My colleagues want you to succeed.
Right.
We're in a negative place right now. We haven't even you haven't used the limited BV license yet, and we're already in a place where we shouldn't be, in my opinion. I don't speak for my colleagues. They can speak for themselves. A Class C license, and the reason why I wanted to make sure that I understood it, my colleagues understood it well, would set a precedent in my head that is inappropriate for the town. It has no reflection on you, but not having food there, the reason why we push so hard for this, and we take a limited BV license and then go to a full BV license, a 6-month waiting period, is we want to make sure that whoever has a liquor license now or it gets transferred to is going to be a good neighbor, and we're not going to have any issues with anything. I truly believe, and I'll say it again, that if you comply with the limited BV license requirements, that you will be a good neighbor. I have no doubt. But us allowing this Class C or creating one opens a window that, or door, or whatever you want to say, that I'm unwilling to open. I think it starts things that we can't see the end to. We have a lot of wonderful establishments in Bristol. A lot of our restaurants help define Bristol, and whether they're restaurants or otherwise, or establishment like yours, we want you to succeed. We take a lot of time on this, a lot of efforts from all of our departments to make sure that we're making good decisions. In this instance, I'm being very clear.
Sure.
I don't see the value of this one, but I do definitely continue to support the limited BV license that we granted and you committed to. Colleagues?
Well, I would just say that I've been on the council for a while. I don't remember a C license, and I had to ask what that was. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest, but I want to ask our solicitor about the type of food that needs to be cooked. I mean, can it be prepared, like cooked, like sandwiches cooked in a microwave? Because I do recall in
No.
past years, over the years, I should say, that, when we were being really we want to be very careful about who has access to liquor and things like that. With like, no, if you're like a bar or whatever, you can't just have stuff being microwaved and bought, because
Right.
that's not really food. But in this case, like, I understand what you're trying to do. Like probably some other golf courses, they have their bar inside.
Yeah.
But then they're driving around the carts with the beer and the other stuff and the other drinks on the golf course. And you're not able to do that, at least not right now.
Mhm.
So you either got to find a place that you can call like that place that you could have some food. I understand the water and all that other stuff, but would it count if they were like microwaving certain kinds of things that were already like prepackaged food?
So it has to be substantive food. It can't be packages of potato chips.
No, but I'm saying if you were to get like frozen pizza and you microwaved it, or you were to get, I don't know, whatever you microwave, like Tito's nachos. I don't really know, stuff like that. I mean, there's plenty of food that I've seen in schools that are like at fundraisers that are being prepared on the premises, but they're not necessarily being cooked with a stove. They're like nachos with the cheese sauce that you keep in a crock pot, that type of thing.
A C license would not require a kitchen facility.
But I'm talking about a BV.
Oh, the BV. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You have to have a full kitchen?
You have to have a full kitchen, and you have to, yes, you have to have a full kitchen for a BV, yes.
Okay.
And a full kitchen, so help the council. So obviously we understand what a kitchen is,
So
but
it has to have a septic system, it has to have
Okay.
a sink, has to have a place to prepare the food. I say stove, maybe a microwave would qualify.
But you can't just have the microwave and some other things. You have to have all
No,
the other
you
stuff.
need to have, the intent of the statute is that you are actually preparing, cooking food on the premises. And there has to be a sewer system and sink, et cetera.
And I thought that was part of your original proposal when you came in front of us the first time, looking for the liquor license. No,
I'm sorry,
that wasn't part of your original proposal.
to have a kitchen?
Yeah.
No, never.
There was no kitchen in the
There's no-
diagram.
There's no,
right?
there's
Yeah.
no, there was no kitchen in the diagram.
And what about a food truck? Could they partner with a food truck?
Doesn't work.
The C class is the only exact license that works in this scenario that we're in right now
I-
versus building a building and going, and we're not going to do that.
I totally understand like the situation you're in,
Yeah.
and part of me wants to say, it makes sense, but I understand what Nathan is saying, because long before they were on the council, I was very anti any licenses. Like for a long time, I never voted for any liquor license. And I mean, I just know where this will go. I mean, there's a lot of people who would rather not have to have that full kitchen, or, have to have like what they need to have in the licenses, that whose business is mostly serving drinks. And I think it opens like a Pandora's box for us that will be very, very difficult to close up. I mean, over the years, I've seen the council with the various members be very strict about how they were going to give licenses, who they were going to give them to, what the hours were, things like that. So that right now, I think there's a great number of, mostly everybody, it's not just a drinking establishment, and I'm not saying that's what you are, I'm just saying like our history, that serves some food, and it could be chicken McNuggets, or McNuggets, but it's mostly restaurants who are serving drinks with meals or, with appetizers type stuff like that. And that is really, I think, a big change from the last, like maybe 10 years, 15 years of where we are in terms of alcohol. And I think that is much better. Like even many of our establishments don't stay open that late, for better or worse. Sometimes, they're closing at 8 or 9. But I would be concerned as to where this would go with the C license, because that's not anything that we've ever really addressed before for these reasons.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I understand where you're coming from. And where we're coming from, this is probably not a viable operation without it. I can tell you that. We're not going to stick around and not make money on a property that we really believe can be unbelievably successful, because we can't get over this hurdle. And I'm not sure, I don't know how else to do it without this license or building a structure. And we don't have a strong enough agreement with the town to invest that kind of, we've invested over $150,000 into this property to date.
But aren't you in partnership with like some of the other businesses down there?
We're in
Like,
partnership with Vigilant Brewery, but
So,
again, the connectivity is not viable. They can't bring their product to us, and we have to send our people to them, and it's just not, we've already lost leagues and events.
you have to
because-
send your people to them, but if they're out on the golf course, why wouldn't you be able to like work in some, I don't even know like the legal aspect of it, but some sort of partnership where you would be selling the drinks out on the field, on the golf course.
If you tell me how to do that, we will do it. Because that's the answer.
Right. You
That's
just want to
that's
sell them out there on the
that-
golf course.
That's all we're looking to do.
Right.
So, we've explored the extension of Vigilant onto the golf course as a viable extension of their business, essentially. We're partners, and that's a hurdle.
But
Which
they have a facility, they have a liquor license.
They do,
too.
they do. But it's
But that's not an option.
it's not that simple.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know legally if that could be worked out, Mike, but
The town of Bristol doesn't issue those brewery licenses. Those are issued
Yeah,
from
by the
the state. The
state,
state has
yeah.
their own regulations on that. And I think it has to be where the warehouse is. I think that's one of the restrictions there.
That is correct.
I mean, this is new to me as well, right? With the Class C license and everything like that. I guess one of the questions that I guess I'd maybe like to pose to my colleagues is the situation that we're dealing with here exceptional? I mean, we're dealing with a golf course. It's a little bit different. When we're giving out licenses to establishments and everything like that, it's indoors. There's a kitchen right there. With a golf course, one of the things that you got to worry about a little bit, I think, are people bringing some of their own alcohol to the golf course. They're not going to have food or anything like that. They're going to be bringing nips. They're going to be throwing the nips out onto the greenways and stuff like that. I mean, they could be worse yet, bringing big bottles with them.
Picked up a few
and-
today.
And
Yeah.
drinking some of that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying here is it is a little bit different. I know that we're kind of in some ambiguous territory here because this is a golf course and we haven't really had a functional golf course that has these types of amenities. So I'll kind of throw that out there because that's kind of how I'm starting to distinguish this one from other cases a little bit. In an establishment, it's a lot easier to control what people are drinking. It's a lot easier to say, no, you can't be bringing outside stuff in here
Right.
because everything is there's staff there. There's
Right.
like a lot of that kind of stuff
Yeah.
going on.
We do have protocols in place for that. So
And
when you
and there's
come,
liquor stores close by
Yeah.
this golf course as well. So
yeah,
I mean, I think like one of to your point, Aaron, is like, maybe everybody needs to think about this a little bit different. Like, it would have to be structured so sort of strictly as to like in exceptional circumstances where this is a certain set of criteria. I mean, it can't just be like we're giving out these C licenses because other people might want it as well. Like, oh, they're getting off cheap. Well, no, they don't own the property. They're in leasing it like on a, I would say like a relatively short-term lease, right? 3 years.
3 years
seems to
right
be
now,
like
yeah.
a pretty short-term lease. And, you know, with like working towards figuring out a better solution, like if this pays out, like where it pans out where you're successful in the golf course, and I don't want to hold it all up onto the liquor sales, you
Right,
know,
I
but
understand.
people coming to, you know, use that and, you know, and that's a good thing. Then you can look at like the next steps. Well, should we put a small building up? I mean, I don't know, you know what I mean? But
Right.
can we get like a 20-year lease or whatever the case is?
Mhm.
I mean, I think we just have to kind of maybe, I mean, I understand this. I think we all understand the situation you're in. It's just that, you know, a lot, we've been down this road before with like just out of control establishments. And I don't want to go back to that.
Mhm.
I'll speak only for myself. And I'm not suggesting that you're going to be that establishment. I'm going to say that, you know, once somebody comes in, it's like, well, you gave it to this place. Now I want to do the same thing at this such and such a place,
Mhm.
you know? And that's why I think if we even reconsider it, it'd have to be something like very, very thoughtfully designed and written up, like ironclad, that this is only in certain cases where you really can't put up a new structure right off the bat. You can't do all those things that you need with the, you know, you can't fry, and you gotta have the fryer later, the air vents and all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of to Aaron's question, because it is an interesting point. It really is. You know,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Before you do, I like the dialogue that's happened. I appreciate the comments. Something I disagree with Aaron's comment is that people can bring liquor on regardless of whether or not you have a C license or any license.
Sure.
It's public land. So you can control the area that you cordon off, but giving you a license or not giving you a license would not make any difference on that. Second is that I want to say this again for the record. You said you were going to comply. You came in front of this council. It's a big deal to get a liquor license in Bristol. And you said, I will commit to these things. There was no surprises on any of this. And again, I apologize for coming across. I don't mean to be this forward, but it is a big deal to get a liquor license in Bristol.
Understood.
And we went through all of this with you. You said, I'm going to do this. Now, Tim asked you a question earlier. Did you say you were going to have a kitchen? The feel of that was to say, are you going to have what you need to comply? Paraphrase. So you said you
Well,
would.
There was certainly a misunderstanding because there's no way to have a kitchen on that property. There was never a way. And there was never a way to invest that kind of dollars on that public property. So we went forward with the process, thinking that was the process for that property. It's town property. Here's what we have. You knew we had a small building. It was the town came and looked at it. Here's what it is. Then we came for the license. The drawing was exactly what we have out there. We presented what we had. I thought, and I'm just going to apologize. I thought the BV license was all I could do. What else could we do? But, without knowing about a C license or any other avenue, that's the avenue we took. So if we went down the wrong road, we went down the wrong road, and that's our mistake. But here we are now. We're kind of coming back to say, what are our options, if any? And this is what we're considering.
Mr. Administrator, you wanted to share something?
Just a little bit of my perspective. This was a very long project to get the golf course open. We do have a significant investment in the golf course. It's very successful up until this point as far as getting people involved. In fact, we just completed golf lessons for our young people in town. And I also met with Mr. McNeil and his team on several occasions, and I know what their numbers are and what they have to turn over to keep them vested here and operate it and make the improvements. I think part of it might be the long tradition of having beer on the course. I think it's a little bit more towards their profit margin. But at the same time, I'm hesitant to speak on behalf of the business because I know what happened with the BV license. But I will say that, like everything else, people deserve chances, and you have the right to deny, you could be wrong, but you have the right to deny any future BV, not BV, C licenses. We could meet and we could have some restrictions on the Class C for the Bristol Golf Park for this season and come back in September or October, and we'll report back to you with the police department if we had any instances. And next meeting, we could come up with what the conditions are for the Class C. But I was just conversing with the solicitor, and any new Class C that comes before you, depending on those specific circumstances, you could deny them for good reason. But here, as far as I recall, all my years playing golf at the Bristol Golf Course, there was always beer there. And I think most golf courses do have beer served. So I think again, we have a huge investment here. I want to see this project succeed. And I think with closely monitoring the Class C, I would recommend that it be approved on a conditional basis for the season, and we come back. Next meeting, we can provide you with the conditions.
I mean, I would be open to listening to that because it, like I just said a few minutes ago, it'll have to be like very strict conditions, like under certain circumstances. So it doesn't look like it's open season on C licenses. I think if somebody, you and the solicitor and anybody else that wants to participate in that, wants to put something together as a draft for us to look at, I would be happy to look at that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be open to it. It's just, we just got to be very, 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 very careful and deliberate on how we go about doing this.
Colleagues?
So how would it work? So we would pull back the BV liquor license and we'd have to go through that whole process of removing, and then we would have some time in the meantime to be working out this C.
You've got.
If we end up
You
going
got
down that
a
track.
couple of meetings. It would
Yeah, yeah,
require, as a process, is first and second reading, right? So that would mean our next meeting and the meeting after would be a proposal for it, and
June
then
or July.
petition, just as you walked us. We are actually doing a little bit earlier. Let me get to the end of this. I want you to be successful. I keep saying that. I want to also be clear. The town didn't put you in this place. You did. So I feel like some of this stuff is coming to us like, well, it's for you to be successful. We did everything you asked us to do. And we're not here because we didn't allow you to do something. I'm sorry to pour salt in the wound. At the same token, I think my colleagues made some fair points. I am ridiculously hesitant about the C. If it was written to a way that it made sure that it was extenuating circumstances, that we would consider it. And I must tell you, I would not be looking for problems, but be zero tolerance if there is any. So I'm not gonna look for issues, but if we find them, we would hit them very quickly.
Understood.
So if it sounds like there's some semi-agreement here that we could put this on the next agenda to consider creating a C license with clear, I don't want to call it restrictions, but clear guidelines that everybody is very clear what we allow, what we won't allow, and why we're saying yes to it. Very much like findings of fact for the zoning board of why we think it's okay. And then if someone else came in front of us and asked us for it, we can explain why we said yes in this instance and no in theirs potentially. So, council, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think that would be it. And also maybe going into like, in that, like, what would you need? Like, where it's not possible to bring water out to the site, you know, without a huge expense, like, you know, to bring, you know, to meet the qualifications sitting in the middle there, unless you're going to build like a whole restaurant, you know, for all of that. So, you know, I think it's important to include all those physical aspects of it as
Good
well.
point.
And so as we look at it, so that it's like very clear extenuating circumstances, as Aaron had said, and not just like, well, we want this to be successful, so we're going to let them just sell chips and whatever, you know? It's because you can't do those others. And at a time if things change, or that you might even want to work like at the state to change some of this, then we can revisit it. Because I know the one thing that did come up quite a bit when you were first here was a lot of like your special events and activities were going to happen at the brewery. So, you know, and so I don't know if there could be like some other kind of a license, if they can open some other kind of establishment within their facility. I don't know that. But I would think that no matter how it goes, that they would continue to like be looking at those kind of more permanent solutions.
We are.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we refer this matter to the administrator and the solicitor to draft, a reasonable agreement and come back to us for our review.
And addressing the
May
cons-
8th.
May 8th meeting?
Yes.
And the only thing I'd like to add is that you want to relinquish that BV liquor license, correct? Do we start that process?
Yes.
And do we want to start that process as well,
And we will.
colleagues? Yeah, might as
Good with
well.
that.
I mean,
Madam
it's,
Clerk?
Are we also
they're gonna-
doing the first reading at the same time, so there'll be a draft of the agreement as well as the. first
And we'll put it
reading?
on the agenda as a first
Yeah.
reading, assuming the draft is acceptable to the council. It's a good way of using the
That way
time
it's,
efficiently.
Maybe we could get it a little in advance of the meeting.
Outstanding
packet,
idea.
You know, so that we
Outstanding
can
idea.
like go back with it so that we're not wasting a lot of time. Because I know your season is coming in up. or
Okay.
is up.
okay.
So we had a motion from Tony. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Aaron. Is there discussion other than already?
If I may, just very quickly, I know you were hesitant. You says, it's a 3-year agreement currently. However, that may be part of the discussion. What would it take to go to the next level, to make a worthwhile your investment?
Yeah, we can have that discussion.
Thank
Any other
you.
discussion?
And let me just say this, as much as you want us to succeed, we want the town to succeed. That's why we're here. I mean, we've put a lot of effort into bringing the town into this golf course community, and we want to be a part of the success of this property. We understand and spoke at length with Steve about the investment that this town has put in there. It was significant, it was important, and it's awesome. And it's getting better on a daily basis. The people that are coming there love it. We just started. This is our first real season. We started late last year, but this is our real first season. So, our success is your success and vice versa. That's how we see it. So hopefully we can come to some agreement.
Well said, Mr. McNeil.
Thank
Any
you.
other discussion?
Yeah, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman,
you.
just a procedural question here. So our next meeting, we will begin the relinquishment process of the Class BV.
Yeah.
And then will we also begin the process of onboarding the Class C? Okay.
Yes.
I'll
Correct.
prepare that. I'll prepare that for you so that if you decide to go forward, you will legally be able to do so.
Okay, so when we do the Class C and the ordinance is specifically going to list the circumstances under which we're doing this, or is that going to be like just an additional policy that we're going to be passing?
It would be subject to
It would be subject to the, okay,
the conditions.
The approval
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
C.
it would have to be on it, 'cause I wouldn't want to support something that doesn't have all that.
Right. You wouldn't be able to have a public hearing on this till May 29th, right? May 29th would be a public hearing. Okay. If you do need a public hearing.
I just wanted to check
Assuming
because I
we
know
do.
We have a while.
the golf season is underway and everything like that, so.
Any other discussion from the council?
No, I would just like to make it clear that, at least in speaking for myself, I'm not gonna say like, trust us until we get this all done. I want to see it in writing, what those conditions, what is outlined before I say yes or no. So you're probably gonna end up being, well, you're not getting any revenue from the alcohol anyway.
Right.
So, but it's gonna, be a little bit longer. But I think we need to have all this in place before we go
Sure.
ahead and say yes or no.
Yeah,
Right.
understood.
We may not make a decision at the next meeting. Yeah, I mean, we may
Understood,
need to
understood.
continue
Yeah, I
and
understand.
and sort this out because it's new territory, so.
Understood. I
Yeah,
appreciate
okay.
it. Much appreciated.
Any other
Sounds
discussion
that
from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
McNeil.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F3. This is Madeline Praderas, 10 Ferry Road. This is a request for temporary installation of sculptures on light poles at the town common.
Is Madeline here? Could you state your name and address for the record?
Madeline Praderas, 1 Old Ferry Road.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You live at Roger Williams.
I do. Well, I live on Cole Street, but I go to Rhode Williams.
Okay. What's the Cole Street address, please? for the record?
48 Cole Street.
Thank you. Welcome. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. So essentially, we're looking to get permission to install sculptures on lampposts over on town commons. The Council of the Arts is obviously in favor of it, but they're not the ones making the decision if it can get put up. So we're here for you today. to see if we can do that.
Okay. So what this council has in front of us was obviously your petition has been discussed on other agenda items. We lean to our departments and the administrator to do recommendations to this council prior to coming in front of us. What's in front of this council is a recommendation to deny specifically because of the weight on it. I did speak with the clerk prior to the meeting. I know she's had dialogue with you to give you an expectation of what the next steps are, such and so forth. Our recommendation was to deny, and I'm just saying that for the public. I know you probably already have that information, but specifically was called out about the weight. What's this council's pleasure?
I make a motion that we deny it.
Yeah, based on the recommendations, I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to deny. Discussion.
Yep.
Just, I know we're going to, where you feel it, but I'd like to give you, sounds kind of weird, but why were you in front of us? What were you doing? What was being proposed? Because we never heard that.
Yeah, so it started, we're working with an artist out in Oakland, California. He originally wanted it up out there, so we got to try to work with Oakland. No contact with them. Nothing was, delivered back to us. So we came here trying to get it proposed here. Easier to talk to people, get recommendations, get brought to our attention issues that with the whole presentation we have. His whole idea is trying to put these up to, explore the meaning of coming and arriving and promote cultural identity and exploration. So that's essentially what the sculptures would be, is to just gather the community. There would be QR codes that would scan for poetry and stuff like that within the sculptures. That's just kind of just bring the community together. We're just trying to get that brought up in Bristol.
So this is
Right.
not your project.
It's not,
not a
none of the
school-
art
it's
is
not a
created
stu-
by us. It's created by an artist over in Oakland, California. We did when analysis loads on it, we went over to the site and did calculations. So we have numbers
So
for
you're-
those.
So are you an engineering?
I was just going to ask that
Yes,
question.
we're
Thank you.
an
So-
engineering group.
So you're not an art.
We're at
sculpture.
RW, senior engineers.
Outstanding. Okay.
And everybody here on your team is, I assume, also.
Yes.
Right.
Do you want to
That's great.
introduce them?
Yeah, so this is Will. He did the wind analysis on it through SolidWorks, which is a computer program. Billy did the structural part, finding dimensions and calculations. And then Lucas created a mounting design, which would be able to hold the sculpture on the lamppost itself.
Yeah. Have you thought about maybe displaying some of these at the Bristol Art Gallery or the library, or, I mean?
We have not, his whole idea was trying to get it on lampposts to bring the community out and be able to see that. We have not thought about.
You
Yeah,
should.
But there's lampposts on private, private
Yeah.
property, that types of thing. So maybe somebody would be interested in doing that,
Awesome,
So there's always some options.
awesome. Thank you.
And you get to come in front of the council and feel uncomfortable for a little bit. Outstanding.
We listened to all of our long meeting tonight and we had a lot of no's. Usually we don't have as many no's.
Actually, there's a couple other places, Blight Road and Rhode Farm, those may be some areas to be considered, where there is attended by a large number of the public.
Okay,
Yeah, you
great,
got-
thank you.
You got a farmer's market out there at Mount Hope Farm, and certainly fewer restrictions and things like that to worry about. So
Awesome. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We truly wish you luck.
Thank
So,
you.
I know it doesn't feel like it, but we really do.
Mhm.
So, thanks. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F4. This is Denise Chase, Executive Director of the Samaritans, Rhode Island. This is a request for support of the resolution for suicide prevention barriers on bridges over Narragansett Bay. I just want to bring to your attention, there is an email that does not receive that meeting. Her colleague, Brian Ganley, was supposed to be here in attendance, but he has the flu, so is unable to make it, and ask the council for consideration of adopting the resolution.
Motion to adopt the resolution. I think one life is too many. If we can prevent suicide and these barriers can help to do it. We know from the Golden Gate Bridge that these barriers do save lives. So I'm in support.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Mary to support. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Normally, I'm pretty quiet on some of these meetings, but this is something that
Which meeting is that, Tony?
I'm not quite sure which one.
Which meeting,
Which one
Tony?
is it?
Which meeting?
Yes. But I mean, I'm just going to read a couple items, from the resolution, whereas the town of Bristol recognizes that any and all suicides are devastating, extend our sympathies to our loved ones, family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, communities affected by the loss. And we thank our Bristol first responders for their heroic efforts to save lives, including from our bridges over Narragansett Bay. Let me just, bring up a couple items. First of all, it is any life is any suicide is one too many. However, in my life experience, I've lived through quite a bit. The last round at the high school in my education, my employment, I should say, with the school department as dean of students, in 1.5 years, I lived through 4 suicides, 4 hangings. 3 of them happened to be in sheds. One of them was in a parent's bedroom closet. There was 4 in 1.5 years. In fact, one of them that hung in the shed, he actually attempted it 3 times. The second time, the time prior to him, carrying it out, actually, he was trying to hang himself in the basement. His mother came up on it and actually held onto him and pleaded for him to undo the rope. That was prior to him actually carrying it out on the third try, or actually the 3rd time. I was town administrator here, and I lived through 3 major incidents: fire marshal, a police officer, and a soldier that we lost. A young man's life we lost. And the way I look at it, these folks, it didn't happen on the bridge. This happened in backyards. This happened in a parent's bedroom. And to say that we have a solution by putting barriers or netting, whatever the case may be, folks are going to look for options. And as these young men did, and folks will continue to do. If we look at the obituaries most recently, how many have died, young folks have died through through overdoses? Quite a few. They didn't use the bridge, So am I saying that if we can save one life is worth it? We got to let's think about the networking, the family, the friends, the folks who don't always want to step up and say, well, but then they'll stand there by the coffin and say, I should have done it. Well, about doing it before. Let's be a support system. That's where the investment should be, is on the support system, not on the bridge. Because if folks want to do it, they're going to do it. So we need to be supportive of those folks. And I know I have a large family. I don't know what may happen, but I will definitely not support this.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll abstain.
1 abstention.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F5. This is Daniel Manchester, 125 Peck Avenue. This is for the Bristol Historical and Preservation Society. This is a request to use the town common to hold the annual flea and fair on Saturday, August 10, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Set up time at 7 a.m. with the rain date of Sunday, August 11th.
Based on the recommendations, I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is F6. This is Ana Isabel dos Reis Cudo, Rhode Island, Day of Portugal. This is a request to fly the Portuguese flag, the flag raising ceremony at the town hall on So the application said June 5th. It's actually supposed to be June 3rd, Monday, June 3rd.
That's going
They
to change
called
it all
the-
for me. I'm sorry.
She called it the correction of the date, so I just want to make note that for the record, but. and
So
that's
June
11th.
3rd is the correct date.
June 3rd is the correct date. She
Thank
marked
you.
on the application June 5th, but it's actually June 3rd.
All right.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Second, yeah.
Motion
Mary,
made by
Mary.
Tony, seconded by Mary to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is F7. This is Anthony Merriman, 40 Kikamuick Avenue. This is a request for a curb cut and removal of town tree.
Mr. Merriman, before you start, this council used to discuss curb cuts here at the council, and we made changes years ago to have it under the auspices of the DPW director. And the purpose behind that was that he or she had much more knowledge about it, and only when it was denied, that was what we did for a policy change, that it would come in front of this council. That's why you're in front of us evening or have the opportunity to speak. So, Mr. Merriman, if you could state your name and address for the record and tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
Okay, my name's Anthony Merriman, 40 Kikamuick Ave. I went to the town, the DPW, requested someone to look at this tree. That's 50% the town and 50% my tree. To see if we could cut it down, have the town cut it down, or the next step. There's a couple reasons. There's a telephone pole across the street, and when I back my truck and trailer in the driveway, I've already hit the pole, and this is what I drive truck and trailer for a living, hauling boats around. And with the traffic, the car was trying to pass me, I wasn't paying attention, hit the pole. The second reason is when you're exiting the driveway to take a left-hand turn, the tree is about the size diameter of the logo on the rug.
I thought you were going to point at a human and say, Mike.
So it blocks the view of upcoming cars up the hill. And then third is I want to do a new driveway, and I'd like to make it as wide as both garage doors. I've asked the tree warden, he came by once, he was supposed to call me, did a drive-by, then I spoke with him on the phone, he told me I had to go for a curb cut and tree removal because of the driveway. I did that, they came out and looked, Roman came out, and we looked at it, and first of all, I'm sorry, the gentleman from the highway department came out, measured the road, said it was 25-foot road, measured it from the one side, so I'm like, I really don't think it's the town's tree, it's more on my property. Anyway, then the tree warden and Roman came out for the curb cut and tree removal. They say that the town road's 34 feet from a 34-foot road on paper. From the middle of the tree is my property line, and the road goes to the north side. So it wouldn't interfere into my property anymore. On the paperwork I have 100 feet from the front of my house to Kikamuick Road, which also puts that tree at 50% on my property. From the back property line, it's 311.6 feet, and I have an orange stake on the curb cut on the east side of the driveway. In my neighbor's driveway, there's a pipe that we put, and that's 311 feet. That's 50% on still on my property and 50% on the town property. I've asked the tree warden when he came to look at the center of the tree, because it's three big, maybe like 40-inch diameter limbs that come up. In the middle of it is all rotted. I have pictures on my phone. You dig it out with a pry bar. I mean, I can go into the root system that far. You can see all the rotted wood out. I've had a landscaper that's going to do the driveway, and we're going to also plant three trees, 2 to 3 trees if we do this project. And he said that he would take the tree down because of the liability. It's hanging over the high tension wires across the street. Also, one limb that came off the tree previously, just missed the neighbor's car in his driveway. My driveway is right there. There's always limbs on the ground after a windstorm. So I mean, I could go ahead and do it. I already have a tree guy lined up to come and cut the tree down, but being 50% yours, I know you guys have a tree crew. I was kind of hoping to go that route.
Mr. Administrator.
I might
It
be able to
is-
save some time here, hearing that there may be a survey. If we can confirm that there's a survey, I'd ask that this be tabled, continued for the next meeting. And if it is, in fact, on his property, we may change a recommendation. Our recommendations are in support of the tree wardens, that based on the observations noted in this tree assessment, his recommendation is that the tree to remain. I further recommend using the following mitigation options that, and you listed them. So that's why but if it's his tree, I'd like some time to look at the
It's
survey.
50% mine. It's like right down the middle. And
So-
I know, as I was told by a person at the highway department, that I could legally cut it right up on my property line, which is gonna kill the tree.
We ask that you don't do
You know what I mean? I
that.
don't.
Yeah, please don't. It's
also-
beautiful.
Quick call. I
It's a
mean,
beautiful tree.
So,
It also
Let-
says here, a healthy tree, and you're
Right.
saying it's not a healthy.
so it's not, he didn't even inspect the center. He looked up at it and said, oh, we'll do some trimming and stuff. And I'm like, I had two of my family members that are licensed arborists come up and they look, this tree's rotted in the middle. I guarantee that the west side of it will fall first before the other two sides.
so what we'd like to do, I think the administrator's recommendation is a good one, is that, let me finish. We can continue this to our next meeting, and it gives an opportunity for the tree warden, the administrator, and DPW, currently with the lieutenant, right, to take a look at the scenario. If in fact their recommendation changes, then this is no longer an agenda item, right? So if they recommend that it's okay to take it down, it's no longer in front of this council, because it's then recommended that it can take the next step.
So I'd like to back up.
1 second, please, and you can certainly make your point. So,
I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. The reason why we would take it down, it's because it's not ours. It's the property owners. If it isn't ours, or if it's
Right.
50% his, obviously he could trim it and it's not going to do the tree any good.
Right.
Being cut in half. So
Right.
I just want to take a look at the property survey to determine whose tree it actually. So if it's ours, if it's our tree, the tree's staying pursuant to the tree warden's recommendation. But if
So-
it is
So-
his tree or 50% his tree, then we'll make a decision.
and just for clarity too, the reason why we're having all of this dialogue is Bristol takes dearly, and I'm sure you do too, every tree that we have.
Yeah.
And you can certainly make your point. So that's why there's so much dialogue here. And another opportunity, another way to get this done would be the preference and what is being suggested here. But I personally, and I think my colleagues are too, happy to continue this with more information and more recommendation, I can say it, recommendation back to the council.
You can do it.
We can discuss, I'm a big boy. So, but please make your point.
So this started, I was trying to get a driveway in before summer so that the first coat can, go down, and then the second coat in the fall. This started in December. I went to the highway department for the tree warden. They forwarded it. She gave me the tree warden's number. I didn't hear anything for like 3 weeks. I went back down there. They then scheduled the tree warden to come out again. I talked to him, and then he told me, he says, oh, I drove by. I said, well, you're supposed to meet with me so I could show you what I'm talking about. And then he did a drive-by. We talked, and then he said, no, go apply for a curb cut, do this. So this has been, since December, a process that got dropped and then picked up again. And then I had to make a couple trips around town because people didn't know the whole circle of events that needs to be followed. So to bring it to the next council meeting, I think what we need is everybody just to meet there, I show them what they're talking about, and we can agree on it.
So that is, in essence, what is being suggested.
Okay.
So more conversation through the administrator's office, with an ultimate goal of either it comes back in front of us with the same recommendation,
Okay.
or in essence, it doesn't come back in front of us. Once it's recommended that it is okay, then you don't need the council anymore. It's only in front of us because the recommendation was to deny, and it gives you an opportunity to do what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
So-
and like I said, we're gonna plant some more trees just back off the off the edge of the street so you can see.
You are
it.
more than welcome to plant trees regardless if you want. So, because we love it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else from the council?
So what would be
I
the
was
next,
just gonna-
what's gonna be the next step? They'll get a hold of us?
Mr. Administrator?
Yeah, I'll talk to you, Anthony.
Okay, so we just need a motion to continue this to the next meeting, please.
So moved.
So I'll take that from Tim, seconded by Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F8. This is Office of Governor Daniel McKee. This is for consideration for adoption of a resolution for Little Free Rhode Island.
Motion to adopt resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to adopt. Discussion? Eerily quiet in here without the air conditioning on, isn't it?
I would just recommend, reach out to maybe some of these folks may be interested. Bristol cleanup, I know it's coming up on the 27th. I know somebody's going to be talking about it. Yes, April 27th. But the garden clubs, the school groups and the scouts, some of these groups certainly would be more than welcome to join in.
Outstanding point. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is G1. This is the Police Pension Fund Board of Trustees. This is for a 3-year term set to expire April 2027. And this, we have Ray Falcoa with interest in reappointment.
I make a motion, we reappoint Ray.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to reappoint as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is G2. This is the Bristol Planning Board. This is for a 3-year term set to expire April 27. And we have Anthony Murgo with interest in reappointment.
I make a motion, we reappoint Anthony.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to reappoint. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is for the Christmas Festival Committee, and we have Annette Campbell, Kevin Deb, and Danielle Hill with interest in appointment and recommendations from Dave Scarpino, the chairman of the Christmas Festival Committee.
Based on the recommendation of the chair, I make a motion, we approve all three of.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is G4. We have the Recreation Board. This is 3-year term set to expire February 2027. We have Joseph Bruno and Michael Tomaselli, both with interest in appointment.
Motion to set up interviews.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to set up interviews. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is G5. This is the Bristol 250th Commission. This is for 3 council appointments set to expire December 2027. We have Warren Resenhouse, Andrea Rounds, William Leary, Douglas O'Rourke, and Michael O'Reilly, all with interest in appointment.
Mr. Chairman, on this one.
Good luck.
I'm just gonna
gentlemen.
I'm gonna throw something out here. This isn't any type of position or anything like that that's in our our charter or anything
Nope.
like that.
No.
We have 5 very motivated people that
Mhm.
want to do this. Can we just appoint all of them?
So I talked to the solicitor prior to the meeting, and he confirmed that the council took official action to create 3 members for this. So it would require the council to have an agenda item on the next meeting, I would assume, the next meeting. And we could increase that number from 3 to 5 if we so choose, but it would require that we can't just add the 2 additional this evening. If this council feels that way, it is this council's purview to do so. So we would just need a motion to,
Go for
I,
that.
yeah,
Make
we
a
can,
motion that we put this off to the next meeting and that we come back with a revision to the ordinance as well. And we've already interviewed the people because, they've been a great group of people and, certainly can use all the help you can get for a project like this.
Sure, I know.
is there a second?
250, it's a big
I'll
one.
second that.
Aaron, so discussion? Mr. Solicitor, did they catch it correctly?
I am sure we have it correctly with our clerk. Yeah, we'll
So
change the-
recorded correctly?
We'll come back at the May 8th meeting with an amended resolution, then you can make appointments.
We don't have to re-advertise and get more great people, do we?
You don't, because.
No
this
more
is-
great people is what you're
No more
saying? Okay. Any other discussion?
That was the question, but Councilor Lay already asked the question, do we have to re-advertise? Because certainly there could be a hiccup.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nice dodging a bullet, ladies and gentlemen.
Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is G6. This is the Capital Projects Commission. This is one 5-year term set to expire May 2029. And we have Donald Heeman with interest in reappointment.
I make a motion, we reappoint Donald.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is G7. This is the Bristol County Water Authority. This is one unexpired term set to expire February 2025.
I make a motion, we appoint Mr. Richard Fournier. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
I think he'll do us, he certainly was very strong in his interview, and I think he'll bring quite a bit of knowledge to the
Yeah, I agree,
position.
Tony. Yeah, second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is G8. This is Assistant Harbor Master, part-time, 1-year term set to expire January 2025. And we have Donald Fitting with interest in reappointment, and we have a recommendation from the Harbor Master.
Yeah, based on the positive recommendations, make a motion to reappoint.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to reappoint as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is G9. This is the Bristol Board of Canvassers. This is a modification of position appointments, and there's a recommendation from the Chair of the Republican Town Committee, Tony Carroll.
Madam Clerk, could you explain it for the public, please?
Yes, so there are two, the board consists of 5 different members. 2 of the members are Republican members. One serves as a full-term member and the other one serves as an alternate. The full-term member, Michael Smith, has asked to step down to the alternate member. And the alternate member, Peter Hewitt, has asked to take the full-term membership in his position.
Okay.
So that's the recommendation from the Chair of the Republican Town Committee.
Thank you.
Based on the chair's recommendation, I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And before we move forward, we just went through a whole bunch of board and commission new applicants and current applicants. I'm going to pick on Tony Murgo for a second. He's been on the planning board for, as we say in Rhode Island, years. Outstanding. This council very much appreciates all of the board and commission members, what they do. I always say this on behalf of the council, but the time they take away from their family and their friends and their personal things that they want to do to give back to the community. There are so many things that make Bristol a beautiful place, and this is a significant one. So this council says thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is H1. This is Director of Community Development Williamson, and this is in regard to the Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update 2024. I believe Ed Tanner, Town Planner, is here.
Ed Tanner, Town Planner.
I love putting that on the record.
My kids watch some PBS shows with Ed Tanner, the Town Planner. So I like it. It's going to stick.
Could be a new PBS show.
It could be. I'm thinking about it. Ed, anything that you wanted to share with us?
Just that, I went over everything with Diane. She's away for the week, but my understanding is that this council has already reviewed this thoroughly and adopted it once, and that it's sort of a backwards way that FEMA does this. They want the town to adopt it, then it goes to REMA and FEMA, Rhode Island Emergency Management and Federal Emergency Management, where they came back with some comments. Diane provided you with a final draft that had some tweaks. None of the comments seemed very substantive. There were a lot of formatting and some different wordsmithing, but I think the document is basically what the town has already adopted. And if you have any questions on it, I'll try to answer them, but I think it should be pretty straightforward.
And the motion you're looking for is to adopt as presented? Is that fine?
Oops.
And to authorize the Community Development Department to forward to REMA and FEMA.
Yes.
That's what Ed said. I heard Ed Tanner.
It sounds like it's a
Planner.
memo from the director.
Okay. Is there a
So moved.
So
Outstanding.
moved,
All right.
yes.
So there's a motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony, as stated. Any discussion? Ed?
Yes, just the, looking at the packet, and quickly, Ed said a thorough review. I'm not sure about that, but certainly a review. To do this, it takes quite a bit of time to do it. However, it's much appreciated. I fully understand the efforts that go into this because I'm going through the same efforts elsewhere, and I'm more of a participant there. Here, I'm a reviewer. But certainly it's much appreciated, and thank you for all the work that it's gone into this.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was going to say the exact same thing Tony said, that documents like this, they really don't come before us without a lot of effort and a lot of feedback and input from law enforcement, fire, everybody, so, and us.
That's a knowing nod, Ed. Okay. Any other discussion?
But we do.
Yes.
And when I was going through the document, it's amazing just to see the amount of water, severe water, rainfalls, severe storms, damming, flooding, and we're seeing it more and more in town with the extreme rainfalls that we're getting. So, it was good to see going through the document. It looks like every location seems to be called out. It seems to have mitigation actions and steps to how we're going to handle it. So we just, it's great. And for the townspeople to just realize that we're not turning a blind eye on this flooding. We know it is affecting you. We know it affects a lot of parts of town, and we're trying our best to get a handle on it. So
To continue with that vein, I can't imagine what our world would be without 10-Yard Brook the way it is right now, to the level that was done, the millions that were spent, the millions that were procured by grants, such and so forth. It's tremendous. And there's a lot more work to do. So it really is.
Yeah.
So
And
Ed?
one to
Certainly.
that point, Director Williamson asked me to make sure that I pointed out that the adoption of this document allows us to apply for FEMA grants. So without an approved up-to-date document, we wouldn't be able to get those grants that will help us keep going.
mitigate
And
these
other
issues.
projects.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Well said, Ed.
And we certainly know what happens, we do a wonderful job chasing down those grants, so it's much appreciated.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Ed Tanner, Town Planner. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I1. This is the Bristol Firemen's Memorial and Welfare Committee. This is a request for the support of the 69th Annual Fundraiser and Program Book.
Madam Clerk, what did we contribute last year? 200? Tony,
I
settle
ma-
down. Settle down, Tony. The reason why I make
Tony
that
can't make
comment
these
is that
motions.
the last couple of items such as this, Tony doubled down on everything for some
I
reason.
know it.
So we only have so much money.
Right.
full pages? Is that it?
I would say 250 though, that we should do a 250.
Thank you for being consistent. So I'll take that as a motion for 250. Is there a second? And how does that work? Do we get a quarter of a page, a half a page, 2.5 pages?
I think you get a full page is 100, so you probably get like two full
250.
pages.
We
and
get 2
and a half
pages.
page.
Okay, all right. Is there a
And
second?
maybe we can have like a big spread in like the middle.
I'll second it.
Second, so we had a motion by Tony, seconded by Aaron to support at a 250 range. Could
And-
that motion also consider that we'll stay there for a little bit?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I can
outstanding.
assure that
Good.
will
Not that
happen.
we don't support the Bristol, it's just, and we do, so thank you.
We have to.
And we have. Any other discussion?
Just that this is coming out of contingency, right, Carl? And we're, yep.
Can you note that? We'll slap happy this evening. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I2. This is the Bristol Conservation Commission. And this is in regards to the 35th Annual Keep Bristol Clean for April 27, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Is there a motion from the council? And we'll have discussion here in a second.
Yes, make a motion to, is it receive and file or approve it? Receive and file. Okay.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to receive and file. Discussion.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Appreciate it. This is Jay Maciel. Also, I'm Tony Moratini. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission here in town. This is Jay Maciel, a Conservation Commission member. Jay's up here with me because Jay's really the guy who ran with this day. You were just talking about how much money you wanted to spend. We come bearing gifts. We have money coming into the town to run this thing. We got a micro grant from the governor. Thank you for passing the resolution. A $750 micro grant from the governor, and Jay was able to chase down a sponsorship from Bay Coast Bank for another 200. So that'll pay
Nice
for
job,
our,
Jay.
yeah, really nice job. That'll pay for our coffee, our donuts, our juice, our grippers, our gloves. So it'll be a nice day. Last year, we sort of started it up again after sort of a COVID, lull. We had about 80 last year. We're expecting north of 100 folks to come to the DPW 9 o'clock on April 27th and help clean the town up.
So Tony, we've gone through, I know DPW used to run this years ago. Give residents or anybody who's listening an expectation of what they should expect.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so the DPW sort of last year said, could you guys pick this up? And we sort of did. About 3 weeks before the day, we picked it up and we did what we could. This year, we've had a little bit more lead time. So good question. So again, 27th, we'll say starting at 9, but get there earlier rather than later. We'll have coffee and donuts. Mr. Praziers from the Dunkin' chain here has generously donated 8 dozen donuts that we'll have out. So we'll have some treats. You'll pick up a gripper. And we'll have enough grippers, one for every 2 or 3 people to pick up trash with. We'll have gloves for everybody. And we'll have a list of locations that you can pick if you don't know where you might want to go, a list of locations for you to go and do some cleanup. I'll tell you, Save the Bay is going to be the spaces that I know are spoken for. Save the Bay is going to be down along the harbor, down Independence Park and along the harbor.
Seems
and
appropriate.
Boy Scout, exactly. Boy Scouts are going to be at the town beach playground area, so they'll be picking up over there. But there'll be a list of a lot. Dozens. The Conservation Commission right now is scouting filthy locations.
So come with clothing that you have no yard
dirty
work.
clothes. The gloves we're going to have, if you have your favorite stout gardening gloves, wear those. These gloves aren't probably going to be really stout, but they'll be so you can pick up pieces of cardboard and paper and that kind of stuff. But if it's something gnarly than that, you might want regular gloves. And then, by the way, we work in coordination with DPW. Then we let them know where the trash bags are. You'll get a trash bag, and we'll let the DPW know where the bags are, and they'll come back around and pick them all up on Monday for us.
And Tony, if you can't do the full 3 hours, is that okay?
If you can do a half
for
hour,
people?
do what you
Okay,
can.
great.
Absolutely.
That's
No,
awesome.
you're not committed to 3 hours.
That's awesome.
We'll be there. Somebody will be at the DPW with the rapidly cooling coffee and staling donuts until 11:30, 12 o'clock. So come whenever you can. Give us as much time as you can. This is, as we keep saying, a beautiful place, and this will help perpetuate that.
We just need to keep in mind, that's also the same day as the Little League season opener.
Yeah, we realize
Just
that.
be aware, no, not so much you folks, but everybody else around,
Good
kind of be cautious,
Sure. Exactly. We did it that date because Monday's Earth Day, Friday is Arbor Day. And so we just thought it'd be nice, in the line of Earth things going on.
Great. Anything else from the council?
Thank you.
Just a big thank you for taking on.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
I
you.
just want to make
Yes.
note that it says here, it will take place rain or shine. So since people may be less listening, to show up regardless.
Yeah, it's looking like a nice day. Thank goodness. But yeah, we didn't have a rain date scheduled. So, but yeah, I think the weather will hold, but good point.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Outstanding.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I3. This is public notice from CRMC for Douglas and Catherine O'Brien, 461 Papa Squash Road, requires a response by, it says April 14, 2024. This came in late to us, so we processed it as fast as we could. Put it on council agenda, which happened to be after we did get a recommendation.
So this is not receiving file. We have to,
It's a receipt.
it is a receiving file?
Yeah, the only time that
Okay.
we need to
I-
weigh in is if we have objection or recommendation otherwise, and I'm not aware of any. Ed, you're not aware of any, right? Correct? And Mr.
No.
Administrator, any? No? Outstanding.
If I may just comment very quickly, the only concerns, and I know I raise this quite often, is whenever we allowed folks to expand, their marinas or their docks into the water, will this have impact, future impact in access to the water? That's the concern that I always have.
Fair concern. We just need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to receive and file. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is I4, and this is the public notice from CRMC for the town of Bristol, Stephen Contente, Thames Street, requires response by April 25th, 2024.
Make a motion to receive in support of this is, what, you need some action from us in this, though? No, not really.
I'm not aware of any
No.
action, yeah.
Just receive and file, and with no objection whatsoever. Implore this very much so to get done.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is I5. This is public notice from CRMC, and this is for Janine and Daniel McConaughey from 135 Kikamuick Avenue. Requires response by April 18th.
Based on the recommendations, motion to receive and file.
Regretfully, yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony, as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is I6. This is public notice from CRMC, and this is for the town of Bristol, Stephen Contente, Sherman Avenue. Requires response by April 27th.
Receive and file.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim, as stated. Discussion? Mr. Contente, you're building a lot of things, sir.
We all are.
Yes, we all are. Good answer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is I7. This is Town Administrator Contente, and this is in regards to the town Christmas lights expenditure and options.
Mr. Administrator.
This is gonna really lighten the spirits. in the- You're gonna really enjoy this item. We have with us today two general maintenance personnel from the DPW, Paul Mello and Mark Gray.
You guys have been sitting there a while, haven't you?
I'll just lead them off and then it's all theirs. because
Okay.
They're really the experts with our Christmas decorations on Hope Street, but I'll just remind you that last year, in late summer, early fall, Rhode Island Energy took some of the Hope Street trees down in partnership with Rhode Island DOT and the town of Bristol that were diseased. Just so you know, we are planting those now. Kinder Landscaping is actually going to be planting some new ones there anytime now, where those tree aprons were on the west side of Hope Street. But part of those trees coming down, we lost our circuitry for our Christmas lights on that block. We try to supplement with those nice looking stars that are on our decorative lamp posts. We brightened up the area a little bit. But upon further examination of our circuits, some of them were original from the 1950s. So there's a section there that we're going to be working on immediately. DPW director, our electrical inspector have been working together. And we're using, thankfully, I think we're out of our snow season, so we're going to use our snow and ice, some money left over there in DPW. We're going to transfer over to get that circuit fixed. But our two general maintenance people here, they have a proposal which I fully support. I think you're going to learn that it's more sustainable, and we'd really like to get the council's support on this. So without any further talking for me, Paul, could you explain what we'd like to do?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Paul DPW, GMO. How can I say, we've been doing the Christmas lights now since '87. And how can I say, some of our grandfathers, great aunts and uncles probably have photos of Bristol back in the day during the 50s when we hung garland 4x4s with Christmas trees with lighting on them and actually some music playing. All that wiring was done probably in 51, 52, and we're still using it as of today. From continuously storms, bad weather, Hurricane Carol, Bob, Sandy, going down the line, there's been a lot of damage and repair that we've done. But due to the, like I say, the wiring has gotten to the point where it's come to its end of its life due with close proximity of the salt water, which was code back then, is really not code now. So we're replacing about 1,500 feet of wire. That's going to go from Bradford Street all the way to Church Street. Everything is going to be 2 code, rubber coated, 3-prong plug. We're going to go to a different type of wiring system, which updating the timers and so on. And we're trying to attempt these new Christmas lights, which are all LED. Come to find out, the incandescent bulbs that we've had throughout the years, that's going to be faded out, and everything's going to be LED. And we come to the conclusion, let's do it now. And the LEDs will be able to save and use them for the following year. And they'll probably last like 4 or 5 years, but you might have to change a bulb here or there. But at least with the new wiring that we're putting in and the new LED bulbs, we're going to get a substantial amount of years using it. And also we'll be saving electricity on the whole system itself. This is not that much wattage being used. But it's come up to the end of its life on all of it. Don't get me wrong, it's held up. It did what it's done, but it's get to that point where we had to do something. Not only that, the trees were getting to the point where they could arc and catch fire. That's how bad it was. And as a safety issue, let's say we'd be working on end of Church Street, and the power is all on all the way to Bradford. So God forbid if there's a cable man or somebody hooking up a phone line service, and if he accidentally touches that wire, he'll get electrocuted. So it wasn't up to code. So it will be now. And so we determined that we have 2 sets of lights that we already put up on State Street. There's one set up by the Hot Point, and there's another set on by the Nest. The Hot Point will have this type of bulb, which is a C7 bulb. It's a little bit bigger. It's probably about the same size as Warren's bulbs. And this is a new bulb that just came out. It's the soft white. It's what everybody back in the day with the warm antique look.
Yeah.
But those 2 trees are lit up from 8 to 11. So it's just a matter of choosing which one, so we can make a count and we can go on from there and order what we need to do. Because the suppliers are, don't get me wrong, even though it's still after COVID, it's supply and demand, which is an issue. So the further, if we can buy them probably within 6 months prior, it'd be great. Because usually between September, October, the rush goes on, and you're having all these municipalities and cities throughout the country ordering from, there's only like 5 or 6 major, I could say, corporations that do sell at a commercial level for municipalities. So we're trying to get them with, and we do have one with Wintergreen Corp that we would deal with. So
Paul, the lights are up already on State Street, and help us. Are we looking to do a vote on this? And
I think maybe maybe the council, first of all, we wanted to get this out in public, out in the open, that we're gonna be changing the bulbs. We're gonna go from the small incandescent mini bulbs to what you see here, which are C7s LED, and they're replaceable, so you can unscrew them, and we can continue to use the lines as the bulbs burn out. There's 2 trees on display on Lower State Street, so I'm asking the council to take a look. Any members of the public could take a look and
Weigh in on their thoughts?
Yeah, yeah.
What is the difference? So what are we looking for? Because they look almost the same. I know they're two different things, but they're one slightly bigger. Is that it? I mean, I like the
It
color.
looks, the one on the left is a soft light, and it's also looks like it's frosted. So, and the one on the
that what it
right
Yeah.
is
They look the same
is
to me.
a,
No, they're
I guess
not.
they call it a higher temperature, right? So it's not as yellow. Would that be a?
This one is called an OptiCore. It's like it's plastic on the outside with weather-resistant plastic, but it has like a diamond cuts in it. And
Get
from
more
a
of a
distance, it gives you that brighter effect.
twinkling. I was going to say the wrong word. Oops.
And the other one is just a smooth, but it has that warm light
Okay.
look, the old-fashioned look.
We call one the Republican light and one's the Democrat light.
The one with
I won't say
the one with the
which is-
twinkle,
I won't
right?
say which is which.
It's hard to do, it's hard to see them right now with all the daylight in here. But at night, they are lit and they're from 8 to 11. You have a chance to take a look and so we can come to the decision and decide on which one. Not only that, but the trees are really starting to bud right now. So within a couple of, if we start getting warmer days,
They're going to cover the lights, right? Yeah.
Be able to see it.
cultivated from all the leaves, so.
So if the public wants to weigh in, do they go to the DPW website and vote and make, do they just, is there like a little place to vote or how do we get the feedback from?
There was 2 options, so they could either report to the council members and come back with your consensus, or we could do a little poll on our website, so it's up to the council. to
Let's do a
decide
poll on
that.
the website.
That's what
Everybody
you
all
want
right
to
with
do.
that? It'd be kind of fun.
Except you just pointed out there's a Democrat and a Republican. Where's the independent one?
Which is which?
Those are the mini lights.
I mean, I like the fact that they're not the bright whites, that like the LEDs when they first came out, they were that bright white.
Right.
I mean, those are like nice,
Right.
both of
Warmer.
them look very similar
Yeah.
to me from
Yeah.
here anyway, but now I'm
You-
gonna go drive by and look.
You mentioned that Warren's lights were bigger. That's not going to work out. So we're going
No,
to need.
Warren has the color, so.
No, actually, the Warren has the C7 bulbs also.
I was just
Uh,
joking. so.
But they have almost like a diamond cut like this one, but it's different. But this one is an OptiCore, which is a very, very popular bulb that a lot of cities and municipalities have. New York City uses a bunch of them on their big tree, which are C9s. They're actually the same bulb, but they're just the same light fixture cut, but it's just a bigger bulb.
Is one more durable than the other? Like the cutting, they're both plastic, right, of some sort?
Right, they're both plastic, and they say that the luminars on them is like almost 15,000 luminar hours, so, boy, you can get probably like, if they just stay on, you're talking 15 years, 12 to 15 years.
Wow.
And do we have any estimates on cost yet, or are we gonna?
Yeah, I have, we got about, between the bulbs, the total, we have about almost 47 trees that we have between lower part of state. And the new wiring is just gonna go from Bradford Street all to Church. Because we have to do this in just a little bit of phases. We couldn't do it all. But that is the most, I'm gonna say that area has the most damage, and that just needs to be redone. We got about 14,000 bulbs if we go to order everything, and about let's say about 5,000 in just wiring. The rolls come in 500 feet, and they're spaced about a foot apart each socket. So just to keep them so they're not, I'm gonna say 2 foot would have been, I believe, too far apart. So we maintained the 1 foot, and we'll try that out.
So less cost to run because they use less electricity, less
Yes.
cost because right now we replace every year, right?
Yes.
So it goes through the season. It's no longer good after the season. We throw them out. We replace them every year.
Absolutely, because when we buy those bulbs, the incandescents inside only good for probably 90 days. After that, the filament starts to burn out. That's why they're inexpensive. You know, you could get the commercial grade from the older robes, but they would be probably almost double the price.
Mr. Minister?
Getting back to the price, we estimated roughly about $12,000 just for the lights.
For the lights,
The
okay.
strands, not the upgrade of the entire electrical system. That's a separate project. But about $12,000. We have
12,000, that's for all the wiring, the green wiring here, the sockets, male and female sockets that we have to buy, plugs, and, how can I say, so we would do a tree, and once the tree is done, we know that, okay, it's good to go. We cut the wire, put a plug on, and it's all set, ready to go.
So we would be, I mean, we talked about this at the budget, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, I think it's a great project. Is there a plan like in phases, like down the road to be able to get back to like maybe Franklin to Constitution?
That would be an option further down the road. That wiring that was there also is the same wiring that we've had since the 50s.
Right.
And from both directions. So from Church Street to Constitution and from Bradford Street to Franklin, it's that same wiring that was done in the 50s. So we decided to have one major one right now, which was between Bradford and Church Street, because the majority of that, the Snowflake, the Christmas festival is all within that one, those two blocks. So.
But it doesn't prohibit us from doing another block at another point in time, right?
Right,
Or another one.
if the council and town administrator, we can further down the road, we can do that. There's also probably talk of High Street, probably doing something on High Street by the Santa home, Santa's village there. Probably putting some lights up there, but like I said, there's no wiring, there's nothing there for now. So the main concept is just continue on with what we've done in that area. And if we need to broaden that, we can discuss that a couple of years or probably another year.
And the snowflake is fine, right? The big snowflake that does that. It's just the wiring you're saying is the old.
The snowflake, how can I say, if you see it from a distance, wow, it looks good. You can see the snowflake, but if you get really up close to it, it's going on almost 30 years
I
old.
was just gonna say, that thing.
And it's
for a long time.
it's still lit, but there's about 50% of it that's out. That was done from an artist out in Boston, I believe near Denham, about 32 years ago.
Wow, I can't believe that long.
Yeah,
ago.
and it's lasted that long. So you just imagine the elements, the snow and the ice, and it's just taken its toll. And those were done with LED bulbs way back when. So it was expensive to make that out of that netting and those LED bulbs. The artist took a photo of a snowflake and superimposed it and actually made that snowflake from the photo.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's 12 by 12.
Okay.
So that too is starting to take its time.
Right. Well, I thought this year was the first year. I thought things were a little bit dimmer.
Right.
The downtown didn't have that really bright feeling or the snowflake as it used to have.
You're right, missing
So,
trees,
yeah,
missing and
yeah.
right. So
It's a worthwhile project for sure.
Tony?
Well, didn't we have two?
Didn't we have two at one time? I thought
Yes,
we
we
had
do
two.
have another
Is there
snowflake.
one that's on reserve or it's
Well,
pretty
the other
much shut?
snowflake we put in front of Terrace School
Okay.
back in the day. And it was one there for probably one season, possibly maybe two. And then the decision was made to take that down, and that would have been like the backup. But supposedly we're planning, hopefully on High Street by Santa's house there, installing that configuration in there, putting that snowflake into play there somehow, some way, with the additional Christmas lights that are going to be going up. Hopefully.
We've assessed the snowflake. I don't want to really beat this up, but we have assessed the snowflake that was pulled out of storage recently, and it was redone, so it was relit with LED about 10, 15 years
About
ago.
10 years
We're due now. We're trying to find somebody to do it.
Oh, good.
And we do have the backup snowflake. Eventually, we'd like to get them both out, and we'd like them in top top shape.
Right.
So they,
We-
they can be
Yeah, I would say
repaired,
use
you know,
both.
updated like that, or do they
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
eventually
the-
get a new one?
No, they can be, it's actually structurally, it's fine. It's just,
Structurally, it's fine. It's just that a lot of the wiring just started to come
Yeah.
apart and break. But we do have a backup for the snowflake. But I believe the artist that originally did that snowflake, maybe retired, so we can't find him. So
They can't,
we're
huh?
trying to find an artist or somebody out there in the field. If they're out there, contact the town, and if you want to come up with that project, then maybe we can talk.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Mark, I just wanted to point out you're doing an outstanding job.
I was gonna say that. Thanks for lighting up for us, you know?
So,
You handle those Republican Democrats very well.
Madam Clerk?
If I may just ask one quick question. So Lower State Street has the soft white lights, just so I can.
Yes, we have
One tree
both
of
of these on one's on one tree and one's on the
Oh, so
other.
they're
The hot
both
point,
down at Lower State Street. One's at Hot Point and the other one is at
the nest.
the Nest. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay. So what is the hope from this council on this agenda item?
Well, I can't wait to
Welcome,
get out
welcome.
of the meeting tonight to go see these lights.
the next few
That's my
days.
vote.
Yeah, we just wanted to get it out that we have the lights on display. We are switching the bulbs over to we'd like to switch them over to the C7 replaceable bulbs.
Yep.
And within a couple of days, we'll have some type of a poll on the town website, a fun thing. And then we'll come back and we'll have another 20-minute discussion.
So you don't want to vote tonight to approve and go
It's up to
forward?
The council like.
I would like some
I think
time.
you should look at the
Oh, okay.
lights down on.
I'd like to see them outside.
I would
first
also like the
All
public to
right.
weigh in. I think it's kind of
Yeah.
fun to give them the opportunity to go and take a look at it and weigh in on, we take our holidays seriously around
We sure
here.
do.
So
Yeah, we
I think it's fun. So I think we can just do a receive and file on this at this point and
So
then
move.
come back in front of us and who moved that?
So move.
Second,
Tony and seconded by Tim. Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentlemen. that
Seriously,
was so
it's-
Thank you.
nice.
It's a lot of
And-
fun. It's,
Getting
and
done.
I had no idea, and I don't know if my colleagues have, I had no idea of the history, with
Yeah.
the 30-year-old snowflake and
believe
all
it.
that stuff. And I'm happy to not know about the really old electrical system, and I'm glad that we're taking care of it.
But
So,
we've had a lot of issues with the electric
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
glad we're upgrading that.
Yes,
Because
me
there's
too.
certain things that we haven't been able to do over the years because of the electric. And so I think it's great that we're starting in that, right in the center there. And then hopefully we can extend it, you know, just a little bit in each direction down the road, because we used to have it like that, but
Yes,
then
we did.
we don't have the trees, we don't have the electricity and all that sort of thing. So
thank
it's a
you.
great project.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Again,
you, guys.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.
Good night.
good night.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I8. This is Town Administrator Contenti. This is with the recommendation for the reorganization of the Bristol Police Department rank structure. I just want to note for the record, there is an item that's received that file. This is an updated recommendation from the town administrator. He did provide it on Friday. Unfortunately, he didn't make it into the packet. So this is the revised copy.
Mr. Administrator.
Thank you. I know Chief Lynch is not, he's out of town. Major McNally is here in his absence. I know he had a presentation for you during one of our budget workshops,
Mhm.
one for the
Yep.
police department. So I know he explained at length of what the benefits would be. And high level, in my recommendation, it just at a high level, it states what the main changes are. So we'd have an increase of 2 supervisors, however, no increase in full-time personnel. We would just create, essentially allow more supervision on each shift. There's several benefits to that. Number one is a savings on overtime. Currently, there's 2 sergeants on every shift, first shift, second shift, and third shift. When both of those sergeants are out, or in the event that there's only 1 sergeant scheduled to work, we would have to pay overtime. In this case, you'd have a lieutenant on every shift, first, second, third, with the 2 sergeants. So the police department works a rotating shift in patrol where it's a 6-day work week. They work 4 days on, 2 off. With a lieutenant on every shift, you'd always have 2 supervisors on. I've been working with the union. They've agreed to only allow one supervisor off at any given time, so that should save there, and you'll always have at least one sergeant on, barring, a sick leave or an emergency where the officer is unexpectedly out, not pre-approved leave. So there should be savings there. Another modification is that sergeant that is working would be able to backfill overtime for a patrol officer. So that was a concession from the union. Something that you can't monitorize would be the increased supervision in the Century's policing, which is most important. And to me, that's more important than saving the money. Police work has changed. It's changing every day. Since I've been there, it's changed quite a bit. We're dependent more and more on supervisors. We're seeking younger officers before they start a career elsewhere. So that role of supervisor is becoming more and more important. Policing is changing. We're finding that many of the investigations are not we're finding, but they're finding, and I don't want to speak for them, but most of their crimes are digitally related. Digital investigations, which is something new in the last 10, 20 years, which requires more supervision in the office, more search warrants. So it's the way of the future. What the chief laid it out here very well, where he gave examples of other departments in their rank structure. So we're in line with the other departments as far as supervision. The majors here, there's also lieutenant, if you have any questions from them, but I highly recommend the increase of the two positions that's for supervisors.
So this is in front of this council, as the administrator just said, we had this presentation at one of our budget hearings budget meetings. And it's in front of this council because this council needs to authorize a department rank structure change. So that's what's in front of us. So I know that we've all gone through this already, and if everybody's comfortable with it, then we just need to approve the change or reorganization of the police department rank structure.
I think this makes a lot of sense. It's better alignment for everything that the town administrator had mentioned, reducing overtime, increasing patrol supervision. I think it positions us for a stronger police department for the future. So I will definitely second the motion.
Any other discussion?
Yes. When do you think this is going to affect?
It'd be July 1st.
July.
With the council's approval, they can start the promotional processes, and it's funded upon approval of the final budget would be July 1st when the funding is available. The impact is there. It's approximately $75,000 increase. It's in your report. Don't quote me on the exact number. It was roughly about $75,267 for the increase in ranks.
But then the savings that we're seeing, which is not particularly itemized, but it should coincide with savings in overtime.
Yeah, I was afraid to put a number on what exactly it's going to be, but it's very apparent and arguable that you're going to save money. But we'll be able to determine that next year. So in here, it shows, I believe in his report, it shows what his overtime is every year. Or during the budget workshop, he showed you what the overtime lines for patrol.
Yes.
Officers, for sergeants, and so we'll be able to determine that after, but I don't have a number yet. It'd be too difficult to really hold to that.
But this is all, but the additional money is all budgeted in anyway, because it's presented at the budget, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, so again, this would take effect July 1st with the new budget.
Right.
And we discuss it now for not only for this, but as the administrator just pointed out, for example, sergeant's exams require having those things in place. So the next step can happen on July 1st.
Yeah, I just got one more question about this, Mr. Chairman.
Of course.
In terms, I know that we'll be saving a lot of money on overtime and everything like that. Will there be an effect on, will we be spending more on our pensions because there's more officers at a higher, I guess, rank now? I'm not saying that this would be anything that would change my opinion on this. We did have a really lengthy discussion about this, but is it possible that anything like that plays out, or?
So, well, all the officers at the police department now are in MERS, police and fire, so they're in the state system. And if you remember that they had called, do you remember how much it went up, the police and fire contribution?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, it's very stable right now for Bristol. And the $75,000 increase, considering what our, yes, there will be some type of an increase, but I think it's not, it wouldn't be an unreasonable amount.
Yeah, my thing is the 75,000 increase is compensated for by the fact that some of our recruitment problems likely go away with this. We'll always have the recruitment problems, right? But I know that recruitment's always an issue. There's gonna be a lot more predictability, right, for some of these officers, right? So, they're not gonna be having to go do a little bit of overtime or anything like that. They'll have more time with their families, and I imagine that, they'll be a little bit more well-rested, right? Knowing that there's gonna be a little bit less overtime and things like that, so.
Just a quick question, and talking about pension, just very quickly, there's no changes on the contract. We still go to the base pay for to be counted for the pension purpose. We don't include anything else, longevity and all of that. It's not rolled in for pension.
Yeah, longevity is overtime.
Longevity does?
Overtime is
Okay.
not. But longevity is salary, so yes,
Okay.
longevity is included, and it's is it the last 3 years? Last 5-year calculation, the average of the last 5 years of employment.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions from the council? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I-9. This is Bonds Council in regard to the reimbursement and borrowing resolution for up to $2.660 million in general obligation bonds series 2024 for the town council.
And here, I thought you were just for the council meeting, no? Nice to see you.
It's been enlightening. Who needs CNN, Fox News,
I
and
know.
MSNBC? Come to Bristol.
How are you, Sandy?
I'm well, thanks. So this is a borrowing and reimbursement resolution. It's capital projects, 1.4 million roads and bridges. I'm sorry, roads and sidewalks, drainage, open space, and I guess that's it. The change in this, we initially had contemplated doing something called a direct purchase, where we would negotiate with the bank as opposed to have a public sale. You'll see the wording allows either a competitive sale or a direct purchase. The reason for that is it's a small bond issue in a sense of $2.66 million. When you go in the open market, you require rating agencies, they're $15,000, you have the official statement. And so the cost of issuance tends to be higher. The market's been in fluctuation, however. And so when you do a direct purchase, it's quicker and it's less cost of issuance. So
So you left the door open for options.
we left the door open for options. Initially, we were going to go with the negotiated, but the interest rates seem to be more favorable and the market seems to be open for a public deal such as this. And I know someone's going to ask me, the financial advisor has modeled this at a 3.85%, which is very good. Remember, in the public market, it's 20 years. So I think all in all, we're probably going to go in the public with the public. But I just wanted to point out because we have left it open for the professional advisors based on the market to go one way or the other.
So you're saying that even though the cost of issuance may be higher,
We would factor that
the
in.
savings of interest may be worth it. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So in either event, it'll be the most efficient from a financial point of view for the town. Because it's all new money, you're also, the reimbursement, if you recall, is that you can spend money from the general fund And then when the bond proceeds come in, you can reimburse yourselves only if you take this resolution, which would be deemed today, and you would go back 60 days. Sarah and I have gone through this already. The remainder of the item is typical. Once there is a sale, whether it's negotiated or public, we would have a closing. This schedule was not put out by a Bristolian, so let me just highlight the second thing before you take a vote. They are talking about doing and posting the preliminary official statement mid-June, which would mean that we would be closing just after the 4th of July celebration. So I want to just ask if that works for all of your schedules. You know that we need the chair, the treasurer, the clerk, and the town administrator to be available. I know that the financial advisor and the treasurer wanted to be in the market and have the first debt payment in the next fiscal period. So we wouldn't make it quicker, we would put it delayed. And so I don't know if the town administrator has any thoughts on, with the reimbursement resolution, you can take money from the general fund. So if it's too dicey doing it and having signatures right around the 4th of July, we can push it out a week if that's your desire.
I don't see any issues with the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't say I was happy about the schedule, but I have no issues with the
Right.
schedule. So
As I said,
Yeah.
it was a non-Bristolian who did this.
would you help this council with the motion?
Yes, motion to adopt the resolution in the form presented.
So move.
Second,
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim as stated. Any discussion?
just that I think it's fantastic. It targets roads and sidewalks. It's also gives us open space money. It's also going to work on the drainage issues that we have. So it really targets and provides us money to handle those types of projects that we want to take on.
Thank you for your
So,
time.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just keep Bristol moving.
The next item is the citizens' public forum, and we do have somebody that signed in.
Yes, I see it. Mr. Hewitt. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Peter Hewitt, 11 Wendy Drive, Bristol.
Good evening.
Good evening. I understand that the school board has made a decision with regard to Gutierrez School that at some time in the near future, the superintendent will move the 5th grade from Gutierrez up to KMS. And at some point, the other kids in Gutierrez will be farmed out to the other various elementary schools. When that process is completed, Gutierrez School will be closed and no longer be used as an education building. I recall reading or hearing some time ago, and I'm not sure if it was Rhode Island or Massachusetts at that time, that the policy was going to be, if not statutorily, that when a school building is no longer used as a school building, the state would mandate that it be used for low-income housing. So last Saturday, I was at a meeting and the person who was informing me, who I think is pretty well informed and stays on top of issues, much more than I do, indicated that Rhode Island has already listed Gutierrez, is on their list for mandating low-income housing when it is closed down. And indeed, I was told that the state is already looking for developers to take care of that process with Gutierrez. That came as a surprise to me, and I think, and I hope, I'm not interested in seeing Gutierrez School turned over to low-income housing. It's a beautiful building with a beautiful view, great location, notwithstanding Silver Creek flooding occasionally. But what I'm wondering is, might there be any grounds for the town of Bristol, if the town of Bristol did not want the state taking over Gutierrez School or mandating how it's to be used in the future? Would there be any means by which the town could hold the state off from mandating and have the town take control? Or if there's any reason why the state would not be allowed to mandate how Gutierrez School is to be used, such as deed restrictions, as was suggested to me. So that's my concern, that's my question, and I think from an information standpoint, I think the town of Bristol, the people of Bristol would certainly love to know that when Gutierrez shuts down, that the state's going to control how it's to be used, or going to attempt to control how it's going to be used. Thank you.
Can I just,
No,
oh, we can't, sorry.
no.
Done?
Thank you, and I don't mean to be
Mhm.
disrespectful of my
okay.
colleagues, but
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Mr. Solicitor, if you could just explain why we're not having a dialogue
You're
here
not allowed this one
about
on
this.
the agenda.
It's not for my colleagues, it's for the public.
No,
So
no, when a matter during public comment, it's not on the agenda, you can't make any decisions. However, we're all hearing what the issue of concern is, and I'll certainly look into it. What, Matthew?
thank you.
Yes, please do.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is J1, this is bid 1042 Wally School exterior doors. We had the bid opening today at noon. We received one bid. One bid was received from Westway Construction in the amount of $116,000.
Council?
Make a motion to refer to the town administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim. As stated, any questions?
Yes, this is for exterior doors, for all the doors that, can you please comment on that?
Yeah, it's all the exterior doors and they have to meet HDC approval, so they're all solid wood doors. But I will certainly work with this person to see if we can make some changes. See if I get the price down.
Certainly. Well, being just one, obviously you have that prerogative, so.
It is for the
Good.
front and the rear, the sides of the building, so it's not just one entry. It's all of
Four
the exterior
entries, is
doors.
that what it is? then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Chairman, members of the council, next item on the agenda is K1. This is Bristol County Water Authority Tri-Town Monthly Report. This is with the summary and notable activities and reports.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to receive and file. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Solicitor.
Next motion would be to convene into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42.
Mr. Solicitor, I apologize.
Oh.
We pulled a consent agenda item. DD1.
DD1.
TT1? No. Yes, no, thank you. The reason why I pulled this is, and obviously I'm not going to go through the entire schedule, but in specific, the chief marshal announcement, I know normally it's done at the beginning of April. Some folks have been raising a little hellish, and around town, Facebook and all of that. When is this going to take place? Well, it is. The announcement is going to be made Tuesday, April 30th at 6:30 on the Burnside Building. Again, the chief marshal announcement will be Tuesday, April 30th at 6:30 at the Burnside Building. Along with that, let me just, a couple more items there. Spring breakfast will be Sunday, May 19th, 8 o'clock, and it'll be at the Bristol Yacht Club. And the Orange Crate Derby that I know the Bayview will be in tip-top shape, for the kids to roll down because it's been somewhat of a concern, but I know the administrator's been on it and we appreciate that. And well, the 4th of July committee appreciates that. And obviously the activity will go on because that's been some of a concern. So those activities will go on and I'll hold off on everything else because there'll be a tag day sale, for calendar, and the calendars will be available. So when they do the tag day, you can pick up a calendar and be aware of all the activities that will be taking place for the entire 4th of July celebration. Thank you.
Oh, you're missing the bling bling tonight. That was, they had that thing for the jewelry.
Can I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Bling, bling. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Get your red, white, and blue.
Mr.
yeah,
Solicitor.
Isn't
Now
that-
we're convening into executive session pursuant to
Yeah, I
42,
think so.
46, 5A5 relative to open space acquisition.
So move.
Second?
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim. So we are going to go into executive session. The online video will stop and we'll come out at the end of executive session to end the meeting out here in public. So we say good night, everyone. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone.